I'm Tracy Sabol. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly, the defense rests. An important day in the hush money trial of former President Donald Trump. Appeal to lawmakers. The Secretary of State makes his case for the president's $64 billion foreign aid package. We're on Capitol Hill. Reason for hope. New developments in the violence and bloodshed in Haiti. We have reaction from the Caribbean nation. And healing the world. A report from Rome on preparations for the International Eucharistic Congress. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us. Our top story tonight: in just days from now, former President Donald Trump's fate will be in the hands of a jury of his peers. Today, in a New York City courtroom, his defense team rested its case. Witness testimony is over, and proceedings are now one step closer to closing arguments. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen?
That's right, Tracy. After weeks of testimony, jurors could begin deliberating as soon as next week to decide whether the former president is guilty of 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. Trump said today there's no crime and called it a kangaroo court.
Former President Donald Trump running to win back the White House today at the courthouse in Lower Manhattan for the 20th day of his hush money trial, once again tearing into the ongoing case against him, which he describes as a witch hunt in a frigid room.
Every single scholar says there's been no crime, he's done nothing wrong. And I'm fighting for 300 million people. I mean, I have no choice. It's not that I like doing this, sitting in an icebox all day for 7, 8, 9 hours. And it's a very cold room, I will tell you that. But I'm doing this because our country needs it.
In court, former President Trump did not take the witness stand in his trial. The final witness today, Robert Costello. The jury sent home until next Tuesday, May 28th, a week from today. That's when closing arguments are expected in a case the former president has blasted as politically motivated. And with his defense team now resting, Trump saying that does not mean he will be taking it easy.
I won't be resting. I don't rest. I'd like to rest sometimes, but I don't get to rest. But we have a phenomenal case. We've won the case by any standard.
The first former American president to be tried criminally had previously said he wanted to take the witness stand to defend himself. Prosecutors have accused the Republican ex-president of a scheme to bury negative stories to fend off damage to his 2016 campaign and falsifying internal business records to cover it up. Trump denies wrongdoing, and very soon it all goes to the jury, who will have the final say.
Also at the courthouse, former President Trump criticized President Biden over inflation, calling it rampant. And he ripped President Biden's plan, announced today, to release 1 million barrels of gasoline from a Northeast reserve to lower prices at the pumps. Gas right now currently $3.60 a gallon. Former President Trump said the U.S. was once energy independent. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
Well, the economy isn't the only thing the president is focusing on. He is also aiming to highlight his legislative accomplishments in this election year. Today in New Hampshire, he discussed a law that helps veterans get benefits as a result of burn pit exposure.
Today, I'm proud to announce the VA just granted its 1 millionth PACT Act claim. 1 million.
The president has blamed burn pits for the brain cancer that killed his son, Beau, who served in Iraq. Before the PACT Act law, the Department of Veterans Affairs denied 70% of disability claims that involved burn pit exposure. Secretary of State Antony Blinken made his case for President Joe Biden's $64 billion foreign affairs budget. The first of 4 congressional hearings took place today before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales takes us inside the hearing with the very latest. Eric.
Good evening, Tracy. Yes, Secretary Blinken did testify today amid deep divides on both sides of the aisle over spending priorities in his Israel policy, while Republicans expressed concern about the International Criminal Court requesting arrest warrants for top Israeli officials for war crimes, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Democrats told me that they have concerns about Israel's plan for the war against Hamas.
I think our focus needs to be on making sure that less civilians die. Our focus should be on making sure that Hamas is defeated, and I'm just not convinced that Israel's war plan effectuates either of those aims.
The ICC is absolutely wrong in terms of Israel. Israel was brutally and viciously attacked by Hamas, and they are fighting back for their very survival. And they are doing everything they can to minimize any casualties.
Both sides agree the timing of these arrest warrants would be catastrophic. Inside the hearing, Secretary of State Antony Blinken chimed in.
The extremely wrong-headed decision by the ICC prosecutor yesterday, the shameful equivalence implied between Hamas and the leadership of Israel, I think that only complicates the prospects for getting such an agreement.
40,000 people are not in here.
Several times, anti-Israeli agitators broke up testimony and were hauled away by Capitol Police. The hearing quickly focused on Israel policy. Republicans questioned President Biden's decision earlier this month to delay a shipment of bombs to Israel if Israeli forces launched a major invasion of Rafah. The secretary defended the decision.
The concerns that we've clearly expressed over many months about the possibility of a full-on military assault on Rafah, a dense urban environment where using something like a 2,000-pound bomb could have terrible consequences for the civilians.
Despite billions of dollars in military assistance that remains in the pipeline for Israel, Republicans claim the Biden administration has abandoned our ally.
Your foreign policy is precisely backwards from what a rational American foreign policy should be. To our friends and allies, this administration has consistently undermined, weakened, and attacked them.
Secretary Blinken reiterated the support of President Joe Biden's administration for Israel, but insisted it continues to focus on easing the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Bottom line, Republicans accuse the administration of failing Israel, while Democrats say that it's doing too little to help the innocent civilians. Tracy?
Eric, I want to switch gears here. I understand that Senate Democrats, that is, this week plan to bring a border deal vote again this week. Tell us about that.
Yes, they certainly are. As we know, the controversial bipartisan bill failed to pass the Senate back in February after a coalition of conservatives slammed it for not adequately addressing the country's ongoing border crisis. It does need 60 votes to pass, and right now both sides say that the numbers aren't there, so they're kind of in a holding pattern right now. But Senator Chuck Schumer, Leader Schumer, actually said earlier today that he does plan to bring it to the floor on Thursday. At the Capitol, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Well, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem recently returned from a visit to the only Catholic parish in Gaza, and he praised the attitude of the people he met there while highlighting the difficulties they're facing.
I didn't hear in almost 4 days one word of anger. Nothing. Pain, suffering, complain, of course, you cannot not to complain, but not anger or resentment and so, which is, something not to given for granted.
I'm meeting with journalist Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa says the humanitarian situation has improved, though it remains mostly critical. He met with the faithful in the area, celebrated masses, and led prayers. He also visited a cemetery, blessing the graves of the faithful departed, especially the 2 women killed inside the parish compound last December. And for analysis, we turn now to Jason Jones, founder of the Vulnerable People Project. Jason, always good to be with you, my friend.
It's good to see you, Tracy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I want to talk about the work that VPP is doing in Gaza. A lot of great work there. But before we do, I want to talk about the Christians in the region. There is a very long and rich history there, one that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah, it's sorrowful that we don't know about it because this is the first century church. In fact, when I was at Mass for Pentecost, the first reading from Acts says there were Greeks, there were Medes, they were from Libya, they were from Africa, they were Arab, they were Jew. They were from the world. Well, this is who was there in the first century. So the Christian community of Gaza is the oldest Christian community in the world. And I have Palestinian Christian friends who tell me they always get a kick when someone says, well, when did your family convert? And they can say, oh, the first century. These are first century Christians, and they're suffering horribly, 250 calories a day. The tragedy of the two women, the mother and the daughter, going to church who were shot. Recently, a young 18-year-old woman collapsed of heat stroke, and the IDF refused to allow aid to be administered, and she died. So it's quite sorrowful what's happening there to the Christians.
It really is. Do you have a sense of, what are the numbers there of Christians living in that region?
Well, there are several hundred families still there, over 400 families. In Holy Family Parish alone, there are 560 Christians seeking aid. Many of them come from the Orthodox Church, which was bombed in October. So you have Orthodox Christians and Catholic Christians working together to feed everyone, to provide food, to provide fuel, to provide a place for hygiene, for basic hygiene.
There are a lot of Catholic organizations doing amazing work over there, including yours. Tell us what VPP is doing.
Well, our primary mission has been what we did in Afghanistan, Ukraine, and Sudan, which is evacuation. So we have a triage list of those who are wounded, especially pregnant women, wounded children. We're evacuating someone this week, a young 9-year-old girl whose pelvic bone was shattered in an explosion. And we recently evacuated a woman who was starving. Her organs were failing. She was pregnant with, she thought, twins. She was able to get herself across the border with the kindness of the hearts of the guards, which is really unprecedented. Then VPP got her to a good hospital where she gave birth with a big smile on her face, and she had triplets. And so that was just a beautiful moment in the midst of all this tragedy.
How is she doing now? Do you know?
She's doing great, and I'll send you the picture. I've never seen a smile so big. The smile I'm surrounded. And in fact, I got the photo and I saw the twins. I showed it to like 15 of my friends, and then one of them finally said, "There's a third baby there." And then I looked back at the message from my team, and they did say triplets, but I missed that.
So she didn't even know she was having triplets?
No, she thought she was having, she knew she was having twins, or she thought she was having twins, but she had triplets.
That's an amazing story, especially among all the death and destruction that we hear in that region. To have a story of hope and birth and new life is really a hopeful story. What's your hope for the people over there?
Well, I would echo the Holy Father, and I would echo Cardinal Pizzaballa, that we should pray for peace. The people of Gaza, the Palestinians, and the Israelis, they have an intertwined future. They can only have peace together. There won't be peace for the Israelis until there's peace for the Palestinians. There won't be peace for the Palestinians until there's peace for the Israelis. And my prayer is not only is there peace for both, that they become each other's best friends and partners in leaving to their posterity a culture of life and a civilization of love. And that's my prayer.
Yeah, we need those prayers for sure. Jason, thank you so much, my friend, for coming on, all that you're doing. We really appreciate it.
It's good to see you, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. God bless. Officials in Israel say they will return video equipment that it had taken from the Associated Press. Previously, Israeli officials accused the AP of violating a new ban on the network Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera is among thousands of subscribers to AP content. The cameras were seized while the AP was broadcasting a general view of northern Gaza. The executive director of the Associated Press denounced the move. And in Iran, several days of mourning have begun following the death of the president and several other officials in a helicopter crash. Thousands of people turned out as a semi-truck carrying the caskets of the dead moved slowly through the streets. The coffins later will be transported to Tehran, where the main funeral will take place tomorrow. The government-led ceremonies are aimed at projecting strength in an unsettled Middle East. And we have a lot more still to come here on EWTN News Nightly, including arrival time, good news about the main international airport in Haiti, and people in Nevada may soon vote on a pro-abortion measure. Welcome back. Following more than a week of deadly unrest, President Emmanuel Macron announced that he will fly to the French Pacific territory of New Caledonia. Today, members of parliament observed a minute of silence for those who lost their lives in the violence. The trouble erupted on May 13th as the French legislature debated making changes to New Caledonia's voter list. Indigenous leaders say the plans, which will allow more French residents to vote in local elections, will dilute the political influence of Native people. For decades, Indigenous Kanaks have sought their independence from the archipelago of 270,000 people, but descendants of colonizers and colonists want it to remain part of France. While Haiti's main international airport is open for the first first time in close to 3 months. The opening could make it easier for humanitarian aid to be delivered. The Caribbean nation has been besieged by gang violence since February for forcing authorities to close the airport. More than 2,000 people were killed or injured in Haiti from January to March. And for more on the latest developments out of Port-au-Prince, we bring in Stephen Destin, Director General of Proche, an organization which was set up by the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops to reconstruct the church in Haiti following this devastating earthquake back in 2010. Stephen, good to see you again. It's been a while since we last talked. What's the situation in Haiti right now, and has it gotten any better since February?
Thanks for having me. The situation has improved a little bit, but mostly you could say that things have stabilized, but not moving forward, where there is a sense of normalcy that's trying to come back in some areas which have not been totally affected by the gangs ruling in those particular areas. Since the Presidential Council took office in April 25th, there has been a lot of negotiation among themselves and other groups, political influences, so that they can see if they can choose like a prime minister to lead the country and form a cabinet.
Stephen, how's your work and that of the church, how's it been impacted over these turbulent last few months?
The work has stopped. We had about 13 projects under construction. 9 of them, we were able to finish 3 of them while they were, the situation was in critical order. And we have 9 now that are practically on hold. We have about 10 other projects that are in the design phase, which are ongoing. Because those projects are pretty much, this phase pretty much happens in the office. And we use Zoom and other methods to have meetings and emails and stuff like that to review plans. And we're able to move on with those that are in design process. However, those that are in construction, we have had to put them on hold for now, communicating with project owners, letting them know how the situation is going and what are the solutions that we're looking into in order for us to move forward with those projects as things clear out a little bit.
Yeah, and we mentioned the airport's back open, which is great news there. Talk to us about what that means and how critical that is to aid efforts and just really the ability to get basics in and out.
Yes, the airport's starting to open up for commercial flights yesterday. However, it had been open for about a couple of weeks or so for military planes to come in, bringing in their resources, some human resources also, to construct like the camp which will be receiving the Kenyans and some also troops from the CARICOM that will be joining them. Yesterday, I understand also there were some Kenyan officials that did come in to inspect like the camp that are in construction, and there are many of them that are en route in Jamaica and throughout several different points on their way to Haiti.
Stephen, we're almost out of time, have about 30 seconds left or so, but what would you like folks watching to know about the situation in Haiti right now?
I think the one thing that they should know is the fact that the Presidential Council is kind of like a new way of doing things for Haiti right now, although we did have like a version of it back in the days. However, I feel like it's going to take some time because it's the first time these guys are getting their feet wet. And with the situation that's a little bit complicated, we need to be a little bit more patient with them. Although the back-end date, which is February 7, 2026, is a set date. But I kind of feel that we should be looking at that date because I have a lot of concern that, with the timing that they'll be able to deliver everything that they said that they wanted to deliver within that 1.5-year time frame.
Well, Stephen, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. We really appreciate it. And please know that you're all in our prayers. God bless.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Severe turbulence on a Singapore Airlines flight left dozens of people badly injured. Pictures inside the plane show just some of the damage there. The carrier said the flight descended 6,000 feet in about 3 minutes as passengers were being served food. A 73-year-old British man died, but an airport official said that he thought the man may have had a heart attack, but that has not been confirmed. Up next on EWTN News Nightly, worrying signs in Nevada, why the Silver State may soon be voting on a pro-abortion measure. Plus, preparations are underway for the International Eucharistic Congress in Ecuador. We have the latest. A pro-abortion measure in Nevada appears set to be included on the ballot in November. This after abortion activists say they submitted twice the number of signatures needed in a petition. The bill would enshrine the right to an abortion in the state constitution. Officials are now verifying if the signatures are real. A Catholic-run migrant facility in Pittsburgh is under scrutiny for allegedly forcing children to live in deplorable conditions. The charges come from internal emails from the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Department. The list of alleged conditions at Journey of Hope includes lack of bathing and hygiene and unclean facilities. Journey of Hope is part of the Holy Family Institute, which operates under a government contract. And here to discuss this report is Thomas Jones, president of the American Accountability Foundation, which filed the Freedom of Information Act in order to obtain the emails that are at the center of this report. Thomas, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it. So how did you find out about what was taking place at this facility, and what made you kind of dig deeper into the story?
Yeah, we've had a long time focus on the nonprofit groups that are housing minors and migrants coming across the southern border as part of the migrant crisis. And as part of that, we wanted to know what the Department of Homeland Security was doing. So we filed, as you said, a Freedom of Information Act asking for communications among the senior staff at the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Health and Human Services, so we could see what was happening with the housing of unaccompanied children and other migrants coming across the border. And as you said, what we found in this Pittsburgh facility was appalling and shocking.
And how difficult was it, Thomas, for you to obtain the FOIA? And you said it was shocking. What else went through your mind when you're reading these emails?
Yeah, so it was pretty complicated. It took us really years to get a hold of this. And unfortunately, we had to sue the Biden administration to get them to release these documents. And I think when the documents came out, we understand why we had to sue them, because, I mean, look, you kind of softballed what we found in this facility in Pittsburgh. The conditions just weren't just unclean. The whistleblower was reporting things like there was fecal matter smeared across the wall, children had lice, toilets were overflowing, and what happened was kind of the bureaucratic finger pointing instead of somebody doing the simple humane thing to pick up a mop and clean this mess up.
Yeah, and Thomas, have you been able to kind of corroborate these allegations? We have the emails, but was there been any other evidence, like pictures or videos or anything like that?
Not yet, but we were so appalled by this. We said this stuff needs to be on the street right away. So we made sure that the American people are aware of what was happening at this Pittsburgh facility. And really, it's part of a larger issue with the Biden administration, is that they have recruited these nonprofit and often religious groups that don't have the experience necessary to adequately take care of particularly tender age minors in these facilities across the country. So we really, I mean, look, the border crisis is a humanitarian disaster, but I think these emails really put out an exclamation mark on what's happening to the young children that are coming across the border. I mean, one, they're getting trafficked by smugglers, many are getting raped, but what we're seeing also is even when our administration takes them into their government contractors, they're being put in unsanitary and inhumane conditions. It's just another facet of Biden's border disaster.
What's the situation right now with this facility, and what do you hope comes from sharing all this information?
Well, it is unclear on what the situation is at this facility right now, and I think it's really incumbent upon the Department of Health and Human Services to do a full-scale audit with the assistance of the Department of Justice to make sure all of these facilities are up to standards, that this isn't happening anywhere else. And look, we found out about this because we had to sue the federal government. The federal government should be overseeing these. And unfortunately, the reason they're not is that they're passing these contracts out to their political allies, and they don't want these messages out because they're picking their friends to run these contracts. And so, we hope that there's a full-scale investigation to ensure that no more children are,
living in facilities smeared with fecal matter. And that's exactly what happens. And it needs to be that blunt. People need to understand what's happening. So we're hoping that the Biden administration really takes this seriously.
All right, Thomas, thank you so much for your time and for sharing this with us. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
EWTN did reach out to Journey of Hope for comment, and they asked for all of our questions to be directed to the Federal Office of the Administration for Children and Families. Finally tonight, preparations are underway in Ecuador for the 53rd International Eucharistic Congress in September. The event will gather thousands of participants from all over the world, and EWTN is the official television channel of the Congress. Benjamin Crockett, EWTN Vatican journalist, has more.
I hope that it will be a Congress that commits and leads to life, that it will not be a Congress that remains in theoretical formulas, but a Congress that starts from reality, from the vision of the speakers that they have of reality, and that it carries the commitment of fraternity.
Fraternity to heal the world is the theme for the 53rd International Eucharistic Congress. During the press conference at the Vatican, Archbishop Alfredo Espinosa of Quito noted that the Eucharistic Congress coincides with a very important time in the country's history. 150 years ago, Ecuador became the first nation to be consecrated to the Sacred Heart of Jesus.
The theme also evokes the title of the encyclical Fratelli Tutti and is inspired by the biblical text, "You are all brothers and sisters." Therefore, we are in ecclesial and universal harmony with the Holy Father and with Latin America.
The Eucharistic Congress will take place in the Ecuadorian capital of Quito from September 8th to the 15th. Pope Francis has appointed Cardinal Kevin Joseph Farrell, prefect of the Dicastery for the Laity, the Family, and Life, as his special envoy for the Congress. Although the Holy Father will himself not attend the event as he will be in Asia for his apostolic journey, thousands of faithful and pilgrims are expected to gather in Quito.
We are expecting 5,500 people, which is the capacity of the convention center in terms of the Congress itself. As for the big celebrations, we expect thousands of people to participate, possibly 30,000 or 40,000 people.
In Rome, Benjamin Crockett for EWTN News Nightly.
And we thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Tracy Sabol. Good night, and God bless.